afternoon, and welcome to Todd Clint's SharePoint Podcast number 342. That's a big number. Recorded live June 19th, 2017. We are celebrating the best day ever because I am your host, the illustrious Shane Young with bold zebras, and Mr. Clint is nowhere to be found. In theory, he is waiting on an airplane to take him far, far away. I don't know. I like to think of it as a police are taking him far, far away, going to put him in a cell somewhere so I don't have to put up with him anymore. But either way, my continued taking over the show is rocking right along. Speaking of Todd being gone this week and last week, he has not produced last week's show yet, but by the time you hear this show, he will have produced last week's show, so it's kind of confusing. It is a rough way to go. But anyway, a little behind on the production. Speaking of being behind, was chatting earlier with Mr. Daniel Glenn. You know what? He did that thing that I thought I was the only one that did. He pretended to help. He's like, hey, I could join the show. He said it was like 2 minutes before the show started. I'd be happy to help. So in reality, we know he had no intention of helping. He knew I couldn't take him up on it, but he wanted the brownie points for it. So there you go, Daniel. You get brownie points for suggesting that you could help out with the show, and everyone else wins. They get brownies because you didn't actually show up for the show. So good stuff there. We are doing the show about an hour early because, well, it's 4 o'clock Eastern time. I'm in Eastern time, and let's face it, that's the best time zone there is. So the fact that I can do this and then go chase my kids, have Chick-fil-A for dinner, all the fun things I usually do, but on a much earlier schedule because Todd's not here. Kudos. You guys should actually do a write-in, right? Or tweet Todd and tell him you'd prefer that I always recorded the show at 4 o'clock. Make your lives better, too. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, in the production notes. So out on Facebook, there is a great Facebook group for PowerShell people, right? And it's all types of PowerShell stuff, whether it's learning PowerShell to super advanced PowerShell things, SharePointy PowerShell, all types of fun stuff. And so out there this last week, someone posted, hey, I need to learn more about PowerShell. Where should I start? And our good friend Richard Lyon chimed in and said, well, these Shane and Todd guys, they have a weekly netcast or podcast where they do this stuff, and you should check it out. The only warning is that these guys get off a topic and talk too much. I wanted to be like, no, that's not true, but it is. Let's face it. When Todd is here, he cannot stay on topic to save his life. And so we end off on tangents and all types of things. So we took his Facebook thread and ran it all through the mill, and I got really lost. But I promised Richard we'd get him a shout out, so he gets his shout out. All right, so jumping right in here, we'll do good old Shane's to-do list here. And so in the last week, because Todd hasn't been around to bother me, I've actually gotten out 3 new videos that I thought would be good just to kind of point you guys in the right direction and hopefully help you out. And the first one is one I'm most excited about, and it is getting started with PowerBI and SharePoint Online. Right, a couple weeks ago we talked about the fact that I had been working on a SharePoint Online project. I thought it was pretty neat using PowerBI, right? And I was kind of really digging it, so I just went ahead and decided to make a video that walks you through, hey, here's how you get the desktop client installed, here's how you connect to SharePoint, here's how you pull your SharePoint data in, create a visualization, publish it out to SharePoint, schedule the refresh, and then use the SharePoint Power BI web part that's in preview to take advantage of that. So I went through all that. I put it all into one nice little video. It's about 20 minutes or so, but just a great jumping off point because I know a lot of people were probably like me, right? I was interested in Power BI, but I didn't really know where to start or what to do, and so I kind of shunned it. And when I started that Power BI project, I was like, no one really wants to do that. But turns out I did want to do it. I did the project and I was like, I could do more of these projects. So that's why I made the video. So if you go out there, give it a watch, and let me know if you find that stuff valuable, right? Because I'm finding that, honestly, really, I've got like 100,000 views on the one PowerShell video, and then all the others have just got a little here, a little there. That Power BI video, which is gold in my opinion, right? Because my mom told me it was gold. It's only got like 100 views, so it's kind of hard to get motivated to make more Power BI videos if it's not what people want or if I can't find that audience. So I don't know, always looking for feedback there. The next video I did was a moving SharePoint Online files with their metadata. So a couple weeks ago, I did a video on how to move SharePoint Online I'll start over. A couple weeks ago, I created a PnP PowerShell video for moving SharePoint Online files from one folder to another, right? Just a simple copy PnP file type of thing. And I wanted to put that out there because I could walk through the logic, show you the commandlets. But in that video, I didn't show how to copy the metadata because copying the metadata includes writing a camel query. So in this new video, instead of focusing on the mechanics, I just focused on the camel query and how to actually move the metadata. So kind of cool. I like to think of it as a poor man's, ShareGate or something, right? If you just need to move some stuff around, take some metadata, you need a quick and dirty, one-time thing, it's a way to go. If you're looking to do automated mass scale, ShareGate's probably the way to go. But this one-time solution, it seemed to work out pretty well. Then someone asked me, well, hey, how do I get files out of SharePoint and onto my file system? Because I talked about how to get from the file system to SharePoint. And I scratched my head for a few minutes. And then I realized I was a dummy. And there's just a command called get PnP file. You do get PnP file and the link to the source, and it'll pull it down your default directory by just that easy. So there's other options and switches so you can do some work on it, but it was pretty simple. So get PnP file is probably going to get its own PowerShell video just because I was really annoyed at how long it took me to figure out how to do that. The last video here is working with files in PowerShell. So in that one, I just talk about how to actually work with files on the file system, how to copy files, edit or delete files, move files, that type of stuff. So not a SharePoint-based topic, but just a learning to use PowerShell. So nothing too exciting there. All right, rolling right along here, I've got a link to an article. It's TechSmith, right? The people who make Camtasia and Snagit, which Todd and I are both huge fans of. TechSmith put out a microphone review about a week ago or so, and they tweeted it out. And I know from time to time we like to talk about hardware, what hardware we use for this show, what hardware other people might be using. So I just thought the microphone review was a good video, or not video, blog post. It has a video, but the video is not very interesting. But it has a blog post of all these different mics. It ranks them. It has audio samples so you can kind of hear what they all sound like with the default settings. So it was kind of neat. Of course, our friend the Blue Yeti, he did pretty good. I think he got second or third, but he was like half the price of the one that got first. So he had a good showing. So anyway, if you're looking for a new mic, it's a good article. You just like to keep up with the tech. I thought those guys did a good job. Speaking of keeping up with tech, went and pulled a bunch of Office 365 updates because, quite frankly, I don't have a lot of exciting things to cover today. I'm very sad. So I went and pulled some of the recent Office 365 updates, thought we might run through some of those. Just the last couple of days, they announced a new Word and PowerPoint inline viewer. So for SharePoint Online, or Office 365, I should say, right? So you can go and read those videos, and they stream better in the inline experience, I guess, on the web pages and things like that. You still have the full fidelity editors and that experience, but the viewers have gotten a little better, a little neater. So nothing too exciting, but you will see a slight change, which will probably confuse all your users. So just so you know, that's kind of coming down the pipe. There's also a new Visio Online viewer that's in preview now. And so that'll be nice, right? Because we haven't had Visio tools like we had for Word and PowerPoint too much before. So if you do a lot with Visios, that's a good one. Also, another feature I don't use, but maybe you do, Microsoft Planner. So if you've been using Microsoft Planner, it's only been a web-based tool up until this point. Well, they finally have released the mobile apps for iOS and Android, right? No Windows Phone. No, I don't have a Windows Phone anymore, but still sad to see them not there. So anyway, those apps are out there, and you can take a look at those, see how they work out for you. And then the last one here, Microsoft also announced something called Microsoft Forms. And so Microsoft Forms allows you to create like online quizzes and polls and almost like generic, basic surveys. But it allows you to do it through a nice interface. And so it's a feature that went GA for educational customers, and it's in preview for us commercial users. And so, I don't know, just thought it was kind of a neat little interface they've given you. I know a lot of people get hung up on where and how to create that type of stuff. In Office 365, you can even create anonymous polls, which is one of the few times we can do anonymous things in SharePoint Online. So, be kind of neat. I I don't know. I don't think it's really a replacement, right? It's not going to replace something like a Wiser, right? An actual true survey feedback tool. But I think it gives you a nice little interface for, like I said, creating quizzes and polls and that type of stuff in your Office 365 experience. So be interested to see how that goes. And, I'm also interested, though, right? Because this goes back to one of these concerns I've had lately. I haven't talked about it much on the show. But, we've got Power Apps, which is like the answer to everything these days. We got Microsoft Flow. We got now Microsoft Forms. Right? You got all these tools that kind of do similar touchy things. They've all got a little bit of each other's experience in them. And they all make me nervous in the standpoint of, are they all going to go forward, or are we going to have another case where we're going to go and invest in one of these, and that's going to be the one that loses, right? Like my stack of HD DVDs that are completely worthless. I chose HD DVD. Turns out Blu-ray won. Excuse me. And so hopefully that's able to get, you're able to solve for that. And I don't know, I just wouldn't invest in any of them too much yet, because they all make me nervous. They're not going to make it. And then like something like Microsoft Forms, right? First thing you probably thought was, oh, a new version of InfoPath. But in reality, it's just about making quizzes and polls and that type of stuff. So I don't know. This constant beta, constant flux, it's neat. It's really awesome, right? Lots of new features all the time, like Find Time and Planner and all these things. But at the same time, I'm always a little skeptical about things like this. So I don't know. Maybe your mileage will vary. Maybe you're not as skeptical as I am. You're like, power to the people. I want those tools. Have at them. Let us know how they work. We also have Azure Updates. So a couple Azure Updates, and it looks like Daniel Glenn is the only one left in the chat room. Everyone left. No one loves me. Oh. Yeah, whatever. Mark's listening too. That's nice. Him and his weird Deadpool character there. Anyway, a couple Azure updates. 4 terabyte hard drives for VMs were announced. So Azure Infrastructure as a Service, right? If you have that out there and you're running it and you need to have a giant hard drive attached to one of your VMs, 4 terabytes, right? That's up from the 1 terabyte it was. And that's an unmanaged disk, right? They also have the managed disk, and those are more in the, tens or hundreds of gigs space, not in the 4 terabyte space. But still, more storage options. I find that one interesting just because, we always talk about we don't think Azure or any of the infrastructure as a service options in the cloud are really a long-term play. But yeah, they keep rolling out new features and new capabilities. So maybe there's a lot more going on there than we give them credit for. So I don't know. And these Azure updates are thanks to my good buddy Jerry LeCanu. Him and I were chatting Star Wars earlier today, right? Jerry, hopefully I'm not ratting you out, but we were chatting Star Wars. I asked him for some help on some topics, and he threw out his Azure stuff here, right? Jerry and I are both players of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes on the old mobile phone. So, yeah, and so Jerry would also like to point out, that means, if you wound all your disks together and you made a VM as much storage as possible, you could have 256 terabytes of storage. That is a lot of copies of my mugshots. So, anyway, crazy. The other thing I wanted to point out real quick, Jerry gave me a bunch, but the other one I want to kind of go into here was owning the Magic Quadrant. So Microsoft just announced on Friday that they were named for the 4th time to the Cloud Infrastructure as a Service Magic Quadrant from Gartner, which is like it's happened so many times now. They're in the leader quadrant of the Magic Quadrant, I should say. But it's happened so many times now, we're like, meh, whatever. But what I thought was interesting in the blog post here was they actually talked about all the different things that Microsoft is in the leaders quadrant for Azure, right? So infrastructure as a service, public cloud storage, access management, business intelligence and analytics platforms, CRM, data management, enterprise agile planning tools, horizontal portals, mobile application development, operational database management systems, Salesforce automation, unified communications, and web conferencing. I don't even know how many that is, but it's a lot. So I just think, that goes back to this whole idea that, man, Azure is just kicking butt and taking names. So hopefully you guys are doing more and more and, embracing it because it ain't going anywhere, right? Those type of numbers show that Microsoft's continuing to lead the position. So take your Microsoft skill set that you've got today and continue to leverage it out there, right? Continue to learn things like PowerShell, and we've always talked about Azure Active Directory being a great tool, right? I think there's a new feature this week as well around Azure AD services being able to ping those, so which enables another set of applications to be included. So a lot of really cool stuff in that space, and hopefully you guys are really invested. So that's pretty exciting. I think that was the end of my Microsoft and Azure updates. A couple other things I wanted to cover off, right? More of the random stuff that's a lot more fun to talk about when Todd's here. So maybe I'll try and pretend to be Todd and make up stupid points to go with my greatly intelligent points. We'll see what happens. The first one was I was reading an article today, and I forget who it was. I think it was Facebook. They built some chatbots, right, to handle incoming requests, and they took the chatbots and they were put AI into them so they could learn how to negotiate with each other about who has access to what resources and that type of stuff, right? So built some chatbots, taught them to negotiate, and they just kind of sat back and watched them do their job, and they're like, hey, these things are doing great. They're getting really good at negotiating. Well, it turns out the AI bots got so good at negotiating that they actually started to figure out, they created their own language, right? The programmers didn't write it, but the chatbots, through the artificial intelligence, actually developed a language to negotiate for the resources on their own. So it was actually kind of one of those freaky moments, like, whoa. These computers are now talking in a language that we don't understand and can't follow. So they actually went in and edited the code and said, hey, put on like a supervising module there and said, you guys aren't allowed to create your own language going forward. You have to talk in human speak or, human understandable language when you negotiate the contracts. So a really neat article to read. I recommend you check it out, because they also talked a little bit about how the good the AI had gotten at negotiating. It had figured out things like how to pretend like it was interested in something just so it could give it away later, right? And be like, oh, fine, here's my concession, and give you something that it never wanted to begin with. It was really just fascinating how smart they were, and it kind of makes me nervous, for the coming Skybot. But we've all known for a while that Skynet, it's not Skybot. Skybot is someone I know. Skynet, in the way it's coming down the pipe. So that was pretty neat. Also, speaking of intelligence, so I'm sure by now you've already heard that Amazon bought Whole Foods. Well, hopefully you've also seen the wonderful meme on the internet that said, shows Jeff Bezos saying, Alexa, buy me something from Whole Foods. And Alexa saying, buying Whole Foods. And Jeff Bezos being like, no! Right? He didn't really mean to buy it, but Alexa heard him say it, so he was just kind of stuck with it. Probably not true. I'm sure they have a great master plan for it. I don't know what that master plan is, because Whole Foods has really been on a decline recently. So the fact that Amazon would go and purchase them, well, they got them a little cheaper, but in theory, it's all around them trying to solve the last mile problems, right? Trying to really get fresh food to people. But at the same time, Whole Foods is really only the high-end stuff. So me who just wants some generic butternut, white bread, right? Whole Foods doesn't help them get in that space any at all. So it'll be interesting to see what Amazon does with them, but it's a nice thing about having so much money. You can just do whatever you want. So there they go. So that was my take on the Amazon stuff. I got a lot more. I did some stock analysis on it, some of the other grocery stores, but I don't think this is, it's not Mad Money, right? Jim Cramer is not going to be taking over. He's not going to stand for me telling you about how Kroger is a buy right now because Amazon had a rough go there. Last but not least, I was going to talk about for a minute as well, sometimes we also like to talk about being small business owners. It's one of the joys that I've been through for, 12, 13 years now. And so a few weeks ago, I got some nasty mail from the IRS. And so this is just a reminder to all you guys that are fellow small business owners, right, that nasty grams from the IRS are just a way of life, right? You can't let it freak you out. You got to just accept they're going to show up. And so this one, it turned out, right, they sent in a letter, said, hey, you filed this form late, we're going to charge you $1 gazillion, or you can, if you don't believe we should, you can protest it, and, so here's the process, right? So we wanted to protest it, so we wrote the letter, we sent it in to them, and, just followed their process to the T, right, in a timely fashion. few days later, we get a different letter like, you are in collections now, right? You can't have it. You're revoking your passport. I mean, like all these threatening things. Like, I just wanted to pay them the money just to make a scary, scary letter go away. Instead, we picked up the phone, we called them and said, hey, what's up with this? So, oh, that threatening letter that, we were taking your passport and, going to lock your front door from you and all that. Like, that's just a form letter that goes out. I'm like, it's a really mean and scary form letter. He's like, yeah, well, let me look at your account real quick. Yeah, we got your paper, your request. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you don't owe us anything. You're all better now. Oh my goodness, right? We went from you're going to jail forever, you're never going to be able to, leave the country, and you're going to have shackles on your front door to, oh yeah, we just hadn't had time to look at your paperwork yet, but it's fine, but you shouldn't have been worried. So just a reminder, right? Those of you that are either, newer in your own businesses or that have gotten them yourself, right? That IRS hate mail is just part of the process, and 9 times out of 10, it's actually not hate mail. It's just an automated process that went out. And so, pick up the phone, give them a call, and be like, sup? How can we make this better? And they're great people, it turns out, right? The guy we wanted to work with is like, oh, man, it's no big deal, right? He looked at it, he's like, here, I'm going to sign your file to me. He looked at it, he read the letter, he's like, oh, this is perfect. And just checkbox, move on. I mean, nothing. No money paid, no nothing. Just, just some more of these gray hairs added along the way. So anyway, just friendly reminder, IRS mail, it happens. Don't freak out. All right. So I think that's all I got today, right? Another nice short show, right? I didn't get off topic at all, right? Thank you, Richard Lyon, for reminding me to stay focused, and thank you, Todd Clint, for not being here to get me off topic. A couple of shelf promotions for Todd, right? In case you're wondering where he's at, he is right now in flight or in the waiting room at the airport, one of the two, headed off to Engage over there in Europe. So the Office 365 Engage, that's this week. He's talking about Azure AD and PowerShell. By the time this show is published, it'll all be a long history, but whatever. He'll be out at the SharePoint users group out there in St. Louis in July. He'll be there virtually, I should say. He'll be presenting from there. So, and then there's also the SharePoint Exchange Forums in September, Microsoft Ignites in September. We both got our fingers crossed we end up speaking there. I think SP TechCon is coming into DC in November. We should probably finalize our arrangements for that also, but I bet we'll be there also. So lots of things. So that's all the selfless promotion. Mark Crispin would like me to add on that don't forget that when you get those bogus phone calls, right? When you call the IRS, good conversations. When someone calls you claiming to be the IRS and wants your information, those are scams. Stay away, right? It was like the guy who called the other day and told me it's from Microsoft and needed my password to fix my computer. It went to voicemail. I wish I'd gotten that phone call. I would have played with that guy for as long as humanly possible. We were gonna have a good time, and I was gonna sell him some llamas at the end, but it all fell through. So anyway, there you go. I got distracted at the end. All right. So anyway, hey, thank you for watching today, and have a great day.